Hello and welcome to Business Today. I'm Siddharth Zarabi and with me today is Nadir Godrej, the chairperson of the Godrej Industries Group. Nadir, welcome to this edition of Davos Brainstorm, as we call it. And this is year 2026. 2025 was very interesting. 2026 promises to continue to be as interesting. Right. And on top of the worries of a lot of Indian CEOs as well as global CEOs is this constant back and forth that is happening on tariffs, not just in India, but let's say if there were European CEOs who were preparing for a India, Europe and US trade deal, well, there's a new Greenland tariff to be concerned with and so many other changes. So the question really is, in all of this, how is the mood of CEOs shaping up, including those you have been interacting with here?
I haven't interacted with a lot of international CEOs yet, but in India, although several businesses have been affected by the tariffs, the economy as a whole has hardly felt it, and whatever we have lost in exports to the US has largely been made up with exports to other countries. And the net effect has been that lots of countries that were not very close to each other have been thrown closer together, including India and China. And I'm pretty sure that India will overcome this. This will be a problem for other parts of the world. And it could also mean that America loses a lot of friends, because we don't know who's left as America's friend now.
You know, earlier today in one of our interactions here at the studio, a point was made by a guest, and this was to sort of for us to distinguish between what may be happening at a government to government level versus what is happening at a company to company level, America and India. And the example of Google or Amazon or other companies, Microsoft, just three big names, and there are of course smaller ones as well, who have committed massive amounts of investments to India in the recent past. Is that therefore a sign of the time of how companies are continuing to do business, ignoring some of the geopolitics and the noise?
Yes, it's a sign of that, and it's a sign that tariffs may not be hurting other economies as much as would be expected. And undoubtedly the tariffs are likely to hurt the US economy.
Okay. What about AI, Nadir? Between last time and now, yes, it's become quite a force. There's a debate around its productivity benefits. I wonder what your group is doing with AI in terms of leveraging what it offers, and what is your assessment of the productivity benefits that it offers to companies like yours?
In all our companies,
we have AI initiatives going. A lot of them are in fairly early stages, but we do see productivity increases, and we are pretty sure we'll see more productivity increases as well. And we are trying to focus not merely in cost reduction, but also trying to grow the business, because that is very good for the business, and it's also very good for the employees, because if you grow your business, you don't have to lay off people because of AI, as is happening in some parts of the world. So we are really focusing on that. And in our agribusiness also, we have lots of initiatives. One of the ways AI can help us is to connect better with the farmer. Indian farmer productivity needs a lot of improvement. And with some of our farmers, we have very close connect, like our oil palm farmers, who we interact very closely with. They are smallholder farmers, but the disadvantages of smallholder farmers is completely gone, because we can provide them with common services. We do soil sampling, we use satellite imaging, weather forecasting to help the farmers adjust, and their productivity has improved a lot. So they benefit a lot. And an additional benefit is more and more farmers are now interested in growing oil palm, because it gives a steady income, higher than other crops. So this is very good for India. Hopefully in the future we'll be importing much less vegetable oil. So today we are not using a lot of AI, but with AI we will be able to provide even better service to the farmers, and over time we can provide these services to other farmers with which we don't have such a close connect through our crop protection business.
The India growth story over the years, particularly after COVID, supply shocks, global conflict, and has remained robust.
Yes.
And is an example of a resilient economy. What, according to you, will be the drivers of our growth in 2026 and beyond? Last year, we saw the government undertake several measures, including deep tax cuts, both on the personal side as well as indirect consumption boosters. How is all of that panning out?
That's panning out well.
The GST cuts were very important for the economy also. And we hope that in the next budget also there will be more tax cutting. Tax cutting in such a way that government revenues don't fall. Because it's also important to control the budget deficit. But if you have tax cuts that grow the economy and ensure the revenue doesn't fall, you are benefiting everybody in the economy. And if the economy grows faster, then the deficit to GDP will also fall even if the deficit is high.
One of the other matters that a lot of Indian CEOs are grappling with is the pressure that a lot of commodity costs have continued to exert. Of course, crude has been an outlier, but you've seen gold or silver, for example, or other metals.
Right.
But broadly speaking, overall,
Yes.
not specific to precious metals, do you see cost concerns and a cost build-up pressurize bottom lines?
Now things like
Silver and copper affect high-tech manufacturing and so on. But for most other commodities, our inflation in India is largely based on commodity food prices. And those haven't risen. You can see the inflation is very, very low. So I don't think most businesses have been affected, except those that use metals in a big way. And I think one of the pieces of good news for the Indian economy is that inflation is very low, and hopefully we'll have more interest rate cuts over time, and this should give the economy a big boost. And the only one worry I have is the weak rupee can feed in, because even if commodity food prices are not rising in other currencies, they may rise in rupees if the rupee continues to weaken. I find it hard to see export performance is not all that bad. Of course, foreign investment in the equity markets is low, and that's a weak factor for the Indian rupee. But I'm hopeful that Indian prices will look quite reasonable after some time, and foreign investment will be back.
Would a budgetary change in terms of how capital gains are taxed, particularly with regard to share market, would that help sentiment, reverse sentiment?
generally there is quite
Good provisions on capital gains, but dividend taxes are now very high, and some of the set-offs given to dividend taxes. But at the same time, although capital gains taxes are low, any kind of reduction, I'm sure, would mean that the economy would grow faster, and the government's revenues won't be affected because of the faster economic growth.
Among the reforms that finally came through was the new labor code.
Yes.
This has been in the works for quite some time. A finer reading would have been done by all companies, and the implementation is supposed to get underway. What is your assessment and the assessment of your people with regard to its impact? Does it impact the bottom line in any manner, and what does it mean for overall welfare of the workforce?
Right. Now I haven't been
Watching this very closely, but none of the business heads have really great concerns about this for our kinds of businesses. I think the gig economy and small scale businesses are more likely to be affected with it. And I've also seen some NGOs that I work with should be exempt from this, and yet they're getting demands to register and so on, causing some problem. So I think there may be some teething problems in implementation, but I don't think large businesses are going to feel much of an effect, but there may be something on small businesses and the gig economy.
Absolutely. And in terms of formalizing the gig economy on the labor side, not a bad thing at all.
Not a bad thing at all, but
Could cause some degree of disruption.
Let's come back to one of the biggest macro things, which is the India-US trade deal, the lack of it really. Do you think it's an overhang, or have we kind of moved on? Because I don't think it's really playing to the headlines at all now.
yes, it's
Surprising that it hasn't still happened. The new ambassador had a very positive tone, but other news coming out of America is not that positive. But let's hope that something gets settled. But I also entirely agree with you, we've moved on and we've increased our exports to other countries.
Would a trade deal, and there is a strong likelihood that we will finally now conclude a trade deal with the European Union, it's been in the work for quite some time, would that make a material difference to Indian exports in your assessment?
I think it
Would,
would.
and it would be a very useful development. And I am sure that Indian exports to the European Union will rise, and the European Union will also be able to export more to India and is likely to invest more in India. And the Indian government has been trying it with the EFTA deal also. The Indian government's focus, of course, EFTA is not a big market, and there was nothing much to be gained by market access for India. But India tried to make up for that by investments from EFTA, the EFTA countries being small but very rich.
Absolutely. And there is a promise to facilitate the investment of $100 billion in the Indian economy over a period of time, and that's a pretty unique aspect of any of the trade deals that India has signed. But
Correct.
as you say, the US trade deal, as and when it happens, and there is a likelihood it could, it may well not, it all depends on the mood of one person, it will also make a material difference. As we wind down this conversation, what is the vibe in the Davos event this year around?
All right.
We are sitting here in Europe, and Greenland seems to be a big issue, and many of the leaders of Europe seem to be concerned about that. Donald Trump is coming here. Hopefully he will meet some European leaders, and earlier today also I mentioned that I really hope that there is some kind of logical settlement by way of dialogue regarding Greenland, and then maybe, who knows, Donald Trump might get his Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, clearly that would be a great thing, not just for the recipient, but obviously for perhaps calming matters when it comes to a global trade as well as geopolitics and relationships between countries. Nadir, thank you very much for your time with us today. With that, it's a wrap on this conversation. We'll continue with our coverage as we talk to business leaders on what Davos 2026 is all about. Stay tuned in. We'll be back.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome once again to the Davos Brainstorm. India Today and Business Today, getting you all the thought leaders and news